Welcome in, everybody. Well, I have to tell you, before I even looked up tapping into this case and trying to report on it, I haven't felt anything differently than my two initial hits that I got immediately, which was a connection to a woman underground and the feeling that he didn't just disappear, that he was moved. And so, anyways, today I want to dive in a little bit deeper and watch a video with you that I have yet to watch on, and I will react to the lawn crimes breakdown, the 5 theories about General McCasland's disappearance. But here's the thing, I'm going to tell you at the end of this what my theory is, and it's something that I'm pretty sure nobody's thought about, and yet it's not the first time I run into this in working a case. So, at the end of this, I'm going to tell you my belief so far before listening to these theories. And as we go through the theories, I'll tell you what I'm getting energetically as I'm hearing them. So, for anybody who's new here, welcome in to Motive.Means.Opportunity. My name is Liane. I volunteer as a psychic medium with the Find Me group and have done so since 2018. And for those of you that are returning and have been with me for a long time, love and light, I appreciate all of you, your support, and I'm grateful to all of you and your very kind words. So let's get into it. So, General William Neil McCasland is a retired U.S. Air Force Major General, and he was the director of the Air Force Research Laboratory at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio. And if you know anything about Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, you would know that it is one of the most secretive and storied bases in American military history. There are stories that go back decades about what could be happening underground there.
2 weeks after a retired Air Force general disappeared from his home in the Albuquerque foothills, investigators releasing a new photo that they believe shows what he may have been wearing the day he vanished. 68-year-old William McCasland was last seen February 27th. Investigators say his wallet, hiking boots, and a handgun are missing from his home. Today, investigators releasing a timeline of the day of his disappearance. Leah Chavez is here with details.
Yeah, Doug, this story has garnered national attention. Tonight, that silver alert remains in effect despite a now extensive search. The Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office believes William Neil McCasland left his house on the morning of February 27th, leaving behind his phone and glasses. McCasland was last seen on Quail Run Drive, and since then, authorities say that they've canvassed over 700 homes in this area. BCSO releasing a verified timeline Thursday. A repairman interacted with McCasland around 10 a.m. His wife left for a medical appointment around 11:10, and when she returned just after noon, he was gone. Items unaccounted for from his home: hiking boots, a wallet, and a revolver with a leather holster. BCSO releasing this new photo showing a light green long sleeve button-up outdoor shirt, the top he is believed to have been wearing, hoping it triggers a break.
Right now, that's the big issue, is we don't know which direction he went.
Volunteer search and rescue teams are working alongside law enforcement Sunday using ground teams, canines, horses, drones, and air support.
The dog teams are given different search techniques. The horse team is going to investigate an odor.
On March 7th, investigators found a gray U.S. Air Force sweatshirt more than a mile away from McCasland's house. It was collected and processed, BCSO says. No blood was detected during initial processing, and more analysis is now pending. The clue keeping hope alive for the people donating their time.
Search and rescue is composed of all volunteers. So
Okay. So let's get back on camera here. Let's go. Gosh, you gotta love technology. So, before we watch the video, actually, I think I said it in reverse at the intro, but anyways, before I just feel like I'm going to tell you now so that we can see if anybody has tapped into what I'm getting. And that is that I just wasn't feeling this imminent risk to him. Like I wasn't sensing imminent danger. And that happens quite a bit where you guys will ask for me to cover a case in the comments section, or I'll ask you and then I don't end up covering it. One, not just because I get sidetracked because I end up following another case, but because some of them I just feel are gonna get resolved, and then sure enough, they do in a couple days, and there's no I don't get the sense of imminent panic or urgency. And the other thing that I wanted to state was that in working in the Find Me group, there's times where I feel like someone doesn't want to be found. And I have to tell you, I kept getting the sense, and I'm still getting the sense, it doesn't mean I'm not gonna get more hits, but at this point in time, I have to say, you know, I don't know if I'm watching too many Knight Rider episodes on Netflix, but I do really feel like they are maybe underground, for protection. And I say they because of the other female, woman who also is associated with UFO files who vanished while hiking. So let's get into this Law and Order video, and both of these people are gonna come up, I believe, in these theories that are presented here on what's happened to General McCasland and his connection to the UFO bases. And President Trump had apparently just come out days prior saying he was going to offer full disclosure on UFOs, studyings, and what the government knows and what's been going on for decades. And then poof, this general disappears. And the woman who also was working with him, I believe, in some of these files, who disappeared, that was just a couple months back, 3 months ago or so, I think. So again, I'm really very new to this case, but this is my initial hit. Let's watch these theories rather together, and I'll comment as we go together on what I feel I'm getting as to what could be a theory and not. Let's go.
What may be going on here? Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. All right, real quick before we jump further into this, I gotta tell you about this app called Upside. It's pictures from his home in the middle of the day. There's no phone, there's no glasses, no sign of a struggle, just gone. Now, again, we've covered a lot of strange stories on Sidebar, of course. This one feels different. We were following it from the very beginning, back when it was just a silver alert and a worried family. And a silver alert, usually issued for older adults, more vulnerable adults. Sometimes there's health issues involved. But this is weird. And this is all before the internet started, spinning theories. But here is where the story takes a turn. This missing man is William Neal McCasland. And this is a new photo that authorities have just released showing what they believe McCasland was wearing right before he disappeared. And I want you to get a good look at this picture here, okay? Because McCasland didn't just serve in the Air Force. He once commanded the exact laboratory at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, the same base where conspiracy theorists have long claimed is where the government secretly stored wreckage from Roswell, the Roswell incident. But it gets stranger because McCasland's name shows up in hacked emails between Hillary Clinton's former campaign manager, John Podesta, and Blink-182 guitarist Tom DeLonge discussing UFO disclosure. And then just days before McCasland disappeared, President Donald Trump announced plans to release government UFO files. Coincidence? Maybe. But also, how do I not talk about that? Is something far stranger happening out in the New Mexico desert? Was he taken by a bad actor who wanted the information that he had? Or is this a tragic circumstance? Is this a personal circumstance? We have been tracking this case since day one. And now with all of these theories piling up and still no sign of McCasland, we're going to try to break down everything that people are saying online, right? From kidnapping to a possible national security issue to, yes, the mothership that comes up too. So we're going to get a guest.
The mothership. Now that is hilarious. Like I said, I haven't watched this yet. So let's listen. We're gonna get an expert coming in, apparently. Let's listen into the theories together. Hilarious.
Disappearance. I mentioned a timeline. So I want to take you back to where all this started with what we are now learning about this timeline. So we have Friday, February 27th. It's a quiet morning in the foothills of Albuquerque, New Mexico. The Sandia Mountains are right there, beautiful, rugged, the kind of place people move to for the views, the access to the outdoors. Now, according to the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office, which is the lead agency on this case, here's how the timeline breaks down, okay? Around 10 a.m., a repairman arrives at a home on Quail Run Court for a scheduled job. And while he's there, he interacts with the homeowner, a 68-year-old retired Air Force general named William Neil McCasland. That interaction is confirmed, and it is apparently the last confirmed sighting of him. About an hour later, at around 11:10 a.m., McCasland's wife leaves the house for a medical appointment. And when she returns just before 12:04 p.m., the house is empty. Now, according to friends who spoke with the Dayton Daily News, McCasland is the kind of guy who loves the outdoors, an avid hiker, a skier, biker, someone comfortable navigating the rough terrain. So at first glance, you might be thinking, okay, maybe he just stepped out for a walk or an activity. But this is where it gets strange, because according to the sheriff's office, McCasland left behind his phone, which was still sitting on the counter, his prescription glasses, his wearable devices, including his Apple Watch, all still inside the home. So for someone to walk out the door in 2026 without those things, it's a little weird, right? And by around 3 p.m. that afternoon, his wife reports him missing. And investigators, they quickly issue what is known as a silver alert. Early information suggested that McCasland might have had some kind of medical issue, which led many people to assume, his age, does he have dementia or Alzheimer's, some sort of mental health condition? But we're going to come back to that because his wife would later address that directly and make it very clear that was not the case. But you do have a missing person. You have a retired Air Force Major General. And according to his official U.S. Air Force biography, this is a guy who spent 34 years working on some of the most sensitive technology the U.S. military has: astronautical engineering, space acquisition, the National Reconnaissance Office, the spy satellite people, the Pentagon, eventually command of the Air Force Research Laboratory at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio. Again, that's the lab that, according to his bio, managed a $2.2 billion science and technology program, plus another $2.2 billion in customer-funded research and development. And here's why that matters for the UFO connection, because according to an article that was published by Ohio State University, Wright-Patterson was the headquarters of Project Blue Book, the government's 17-year investigation into UFOs that looked at nearly 13,000 reported sightings. That's been the report. And for decades, conspiracy theorists have claimed that that is where the government took the debris from the Roswell incident in 1947. So those claims, I will be clear, have never officially been confirmed, but the association's there. So day one comes and goes. There's no signs of him. Day two, day three, nothing. And then the searches begin. According to the sheriff's office, they started canvassing the neighborhood. We're talking more than 700 homes, going door to door, asking.
Okay, I'm just going to stop it here. One, for fair use, and two, I do feel like his disappearance is connected to his knowledge, but I'm still not yet getting it quite as it appears to be. I think it's more of a going undercover, underground, if you will, for his safety. That's what I'm getting. I could be completely wrong, but that's what I'm getting right now. Let's keep listening.
For ring camera footage, security video, anything that might have caught a glimpse of McCasland leaving the area, drone operations, helicopter support, ground searches with search and rescue teams, K-9 units, horses, volunteers. They're scouring the foothills, the trails, the open space around his home. And then on March 7th, more than a week into the search, investigators find something. The sheriff's office reported they located a gray U.S. Air Force sweatshirt about 1.25 miles east of McCasland's residence. They collected it, they processed it, and according to their statement, no blood was detected during initial analysis, and additional testing is pending. They also noted that the family has not been able to confirm the sweatshirt actually belonged to McCasland, but it was enough to send search teams back out to that area. And by the 2-week mark, the sheriff's office releases this new photo showing McCasland wearing a button-up shirt. This is very, very crucial, by the way, because this is the shirt that investigators now say they believe he was wearing when he disappeared. So I want you to get a good look at this picture here, okay? They also confirm some other items are unaccounted for, like his hiking boots, his wallet, a .38 caliber revolver with a leather holster. And meanwhile, the FBI is also now involved. According to BCSO, the Albuquerque field office started assisting. The Air Force Office of Special Investigations is also looped in. New Mexico State Search and Rescue, Albuquerque Mountain Rescue. It's a multi-agency effort now. And still, according to the sheriff's latest update, there's no confirmed sightings, no video of him leaving, no direction of travel, nothing as far as we can see, at least as far as they're coming out with information. And that is when the internet started doing what the internet does. Because when a retired Air Force general with ties to Wright-Patterson disappears under mysterious circumstances and his name happens to appear in hacked emails discussing UFO disclosure, that's when people start to talk, right? And trust me, they have. From kidnapping to national security theories to, yes, alien abduction. So what exactly are people claiming happened here? And what does McCasland's wife have to say about all of this? That is what we're going to get into next, because while the internet has been running wild with speculation, his wife finally broke her silence. And what she said is, well, let's just say she addressed the elephant in the room head on, and she brought up the thing that everybody's been asking about, the aliens. Before we even get to that, and before we even get into the theories, we wanted to bring in somebody who can help us understand what might actually be happening behind the scenes, because it's very easy to get lost in the UFO chatter, right? But at the end of the day, there are real investigations working this case. You have a missing persons case. How different is this one compared to other ones? This is why I now want to bring in private criminal defense investigator Billy Liane. Such a pleasure to always have him. Billy, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about this. Do you find it strange that he hasn't been found?
Okay, before we get into that, I do have to, like I say, I have to stop. I'm getting dizzy here right now. I have to stop for fair use, but we're gonna listen to this. I haven't listened to any of these. I'm gonna skip through the theories because I don't want, there's another 20 minutes to this video. Um, well, we'll see how it goes. I don't want to um take too much longer to do this video, but other than to give you my hits, but we'll decide. I might fast forward through some of the videos and the theories, and if you want to go to Jesse's full video, then I'll put the link below. At least I'll do my best to recall to. Okay, let's get back and listen to what he has to say.
No, a lot of it depends on the area in which he went missing from. We've had searches that go on for months. Typically within 30 days is a normal good time frame to try and locate somebody and bring them back home. So as you had mentioned, there's a lot of chatter going on with this search, with the disappearance of him. And I think sometimes that brings in good and bad, because it can bring in additional resources like the federal government, like the military. But the bad part is that sometimes you lose focus on the fact that this is a missing man. Just like in a lot of other cases, he's a dad, he's a brother, a husband, a friend who possibly chose to leave his home on his own accord, and is either in a location where he's had a medical emergency, he's had an accident, or unfortunately he's chosen to cause potential self-harm to himself.
But again, if you have all of these agencies looking for him and all of this attention, even if you had a situation like that, how could he not be found? I mean, does it suggest more likely that he was taken?
Um, I'm not quite sure if I buy into that theory, because he's armed. Number one, he has a gun on him. From what we're hearing, there's no.
Well, I mean, maybe we can't account for the gun, but maybe.
Correct. He's been trained. He knows what he's doing. I feel like he would fall higher in the possibilities of self-defense than your average person based on his history in the military. Okay, I believe if that was the case and he was taken, you're going to see some struggle. You're going to see some indications that he did not want to go with this person. What's very concerning in this case is that he left his glasses, he left his phone, he left his watch, and when it all boils down, we see this a lot in our cases. We try not to focus on the noise. We try to focus on the individual, and that he, like a lot of other people, leave their devices and walk away from them. Why do they do that? Well, they don't want to be tracked. They don't want to be followed. They don't have any intent to communicate with anybody unless they return. So that's concerning. And we see that a lot of times in these cases where people want to go into the woods and,
I paused it just before he said, and they do their own thing. So he was referring to, sadly, we see people who unalive themselves. And for YouTube's sake, I wasn't sure quite what he was going to say there, but that's what he said, do their own thing. Because it is odd. Why would you take your gun, the gun holster, it's a .38 revolver, I think they said, and your ID with your hiking boots, leave behind your glasses, your watch, and your cell phone? Unless I can appreciate that theory. You want to be found, hence the wallet, that hoping someday, if you do unalive yourself, somebody will find your remains along with the ID and be able to identify you. So that makes an immense amount of logical sense. And I have to say, I'm not really getting a hit, but if I had to, and I'm going to tap into a little bit more as we go through this case, like as I'm talking through this, I'm actually feeling like I can't breathe. Like I feel like he's panicked. I do feel like there is a complete overwhelmed panic that he's facing. And again, that's what I get. Like I get when I'm tapping into the energy. I can't breathe. I'm panicked right now. I'm absolutely panicked. Let me just tap in and see what I'm. Sorry, this wasn't. I did not anticipate this energy to come in, but it's I feel like he's terrified. Um, but that is different from hopeless and wanting to end my life. So I'm still gonna go forward, whew, with my initial interpretation. Whoa. Sorry, y'all. I didn't anticipate this. This is what happens. Now I'm spinning when I get cases that I'm working on. I get often guides come to me, intel comes to me. I don't know who this energy is right now, other than I feel like it's my guides, but and who are showing me his energy. I do want to say that I am feeling more that he is alive, that I'm correct in my assessment so far, that he panicked. He's panicked about his own safety. And I feel like as I talk through that, like he's talking through, okay, I've got the skills, I've got the resources. How can I get out of this? So I'm going to pause and move forward to the next theory in the video and then tell you what I'm getting as a hit from that. Okay, so in the second theory here, Jesse just refers to the sweatshirt that was found. And as we get into this video, he seems to lean on his second theory here, which is what I was saying. Maybe, so I was wrong. He does lean in on my theory. Perhaps he is just wanting to not be found. Let's listen.
A little over a mile east of his home, discovered on March 7th, no blood in the initial processing. Family can't confirm if it's his. A, how do you handle a piece of evidence like that? And how significant do you think it is here?
You collect it like it's a piece of evidence in a criminal investigation. You preserve it and try to get it in to be processed. The most important thing is hit his DNA in that on that shirt. If they've done that, and also you need to. It's not the end all be all because you don't know if it's his or not. So you have to document where it's at, and you have to consider that as part of your search. For us, the most important thing is confirmed last known location. Now, the shirt could potentially confirm that he was there at some point, but that hasn't happened yet. So you have to consider the possibility that it could be involved. So you need to search that area. But the most important place is the home and how, and not for nothing, but he's a very athletic individual based on reports. He hikes, he does a lot of things outdoors. So what is his potential to be able to get to a certain location? How far could he have went? Normally for us, it's about 2 miles. For this gentleman here, it could be 10 miles. What did he take with him? Did he take any supplies with him that he could have lasted longer, more days? Maybe he wants to get away. Maybe he wants to get farther into the mountains. There's a lot of possibilities, but each one of those helps us determine, how far our search parameters are going to be. Typically, they're within 2 miles for your average person.
So authorities, I thought.
Okay, so far we have theories. He unalived himself. 2, he took off on his own because he was in danger or wanted to for whatever reason. 3, now Jesse's asking, could he have been removed because of his intel? So let's listen to that for a second here. Okay, let's listen in on their review now. They've stated 2 that I think are going to be their theories. Let's listen in because they're going to go through them now.
Let me ask you about some of the theories, and I'm going to start with it because it's important to address it. I can't not address it when we're talking about this man with this career and the timing of it. So the idea, one of the theories is, this is a guy who knew things, deeply classified things. Whether you want to say it's outdated information or not, you could still make the argument valuable information, national security information that he was taken. So when you think about that, we talked earlier about his Air Force bio, 34 years, the National Reconnaissance Office, command of the Air Force Research Laboratory at Wright-Patterson. I talked about the billions of dollars that was assigned to here that he was overseeing, right? He has all of this classification. He has this know-how. When you think about a potential foreign actor or a foreign party or a bad actor who might want that information, does that seem plausible to you? I mean, you mentioned before why you don't think it's likely he was taken, but if we're trying to navigate the possibility that he had information that was valuable, is that something that's being considered, and how is it being investigated and considered?
I would say absolutely it has to be considered. You have to run that to ground. You have to prove that that's not the case here. And that's where you're seeing the FBI potentially coming in, law enforcement are taking that into consideration. But the question you have to ask yourself is why now? He's been retired for some time. Why did they take the opportunity at this moment in time to come get him? Why didn't this happen before? Maybe when he had more access to more information than he does now. So that's a major consideration. And as a police detective and federal agent, you have to run that to ground to figure out whether or not this is a possibility. Is it a bad actor? Are the other things in play? And are you really going to release that information if that truly is the case? You're going to keep that close to your chest.
So let me just tell you, I do feel it's connected. And as we said, never before has a president declared they were going to come forward with decades of research that's been hidden from the US population and the world at large. So that's a different variable. So I do feel like there is absolutely a connection on whether he felt he couldn't cope with it, whether he was taken or just went underground. I'm still leaning on the underground, but let's listen to the other theory. We know one of them is going to be the UFO abduction, and I'm going to just say, ixnay that thought. Not even going to talk about that, although I do believe in star beings and whatnot. I just don't think that that is at all what's going on here. And let's just listen to the last theory, I think the last one, and I'll tell you what my hits are on that one. Okay, so the theories, I'm guessing they didn't really quite label them, but one, and the most important one, is that he is lost and needs help, and that's why I want to just, encourage that they continue to look for him, because I could be wrong and we don't want to not find somebody. But again, as this video with Jesse from Law and Crime says, the expert states that the FBI are on the case, they're working on it. And so if there is some sort of attempt to have run underground, they would know that. And otherwise, they're going to keep looking for him, certainly. And hopefully, if he has just walked away and gotten lost, left with his hiking boots, went to go hunting and got lost, that, or he's hit his head or fell or ran into some bad situation that he's found. Let's hope that that's, the case. It sounds like, again, the theories are alien abduction, which I said, I'm not going to go there. That he was taken because of the information that he holds. And I do feel there is a connection to what he does know, but I don't feel, and as I said, there's no blood, there was no sign of a struggle. I don't necessarily feel that he was taken, but I do feel, and did feel earlier, an immense panic about his safety. Now, whether that means he went hiking, got disoriented, fell down and hit his head and needs to be found, or he went underground, I don't feel like he unalived himself, but those are the theories that I guess are still out there, the 5 theories at this point. And so thank you for being here. Let's keep thinking that he needs to be found in the event that this is exactly what's going on, and keep his name and face out there, and send prayers for his safe discovery and return to loved ones. Love and light, everybody. Thank you for being here.